Hey guys, Jay here, welcome to another cosplay tutorial. Probably wondering why I'm wearing this glove. I'll get into that. That's actually has to do with this prop today. You've already probably seen in the thumbnail, but that is for this guy. So this is what I'm making today. It's the little balloon monsters from the Rising of the Shield hero. And as you can see, that took force to get off. So this thing is connected with magnets, screwed up, and it's only held on by 2 magnets. And I meant to do 3. I put 1 magnet in the wrong spot by accident. That's my bad, but it's whatever. I'll get into that at the end of the video. Don't worry about it. So I'll tell you what I messed up. But you can see it's like just walking around. It's not gonna come off. So it's not coming off. So like even if you like bump into someone else, and that's why it's magnets, because if you bump into someone else too hard, it'll just fall off. And because it's made of foam, it's not going to break or dent or get really any damage on it when it hits the floor, because it's a shock absorber, which means nothing's gonna really happen to it. And pick it back up, stick him back on, and you're good to go. Easy. The good thing about it too is he has the cape, so you're really not gonna hit people anyway. So easy, right? So I will also let you know there is no pattern for this. I'll tell you how to get the pattern, but I'll tell you an alternate as well. So the way to get to the pattern that I used, which is this, you can go down into the description. There's a template maker page, and you can either search for the sphere or use if you're on a computer, like Control F or whatever to search in the page. Just look for the sphere one, and then you put in the diameter. And I think, you know what, I'll put up the ones for this one, and there's one that'll be the number 6. That is the diameter. That is the only one you're going to want to change. So change that one to be whatever diameter you want it to be. So that'd be from left to right. If you put a straight line across it, that's your diameter. For people who don't know I don't know, someone might not know what a diameter is. I don't know. So like I have one for a 10-inch one just in case, but this is a 6-inch one. So you just change that number to whatever you want. Do everything else the same as mine. Do where the zeros are and all that stuff. Make sure those numbers are correct, and then just download that pattern. So, and then you can print that out, and that'll give you this, which weirdly enough, this 6-inch one, for some reason, printed on 2 pages, and I needed to tape them together in their halves and match them up, and it was really weird. This is smaller than a piece of paper. This didn't have to print on 2 pieces, so whatever. But it's not my problem, nothing I can do about it. Also, there will be a link in the description for the magnets that I'm using. I don't know if they're going to be the exact magnets that I bought, because I bought these 5 years ago, something like that, 5 or 6 years ago. So I don't remember which exact ones they are, but I'll link something that'll work just as well. And the rest of it is just following the tutorial, so I guess I should get into that. I start this build by tracing the template onto 10mm foam and cutting it out 6 times. You can change the template to be whatever you want, and the website to get the template will be in the description. And you can change the parameters to whatever you want. On the page, you can select which measurement unit that you want, then change the outer diameter to whatever size you want. After that, you can put however many segments you want it to be made of in the next box, and mine is 6, but you can do whatever you want. The next one, called rings, doesn't even matter, so just leave it. And then for all of the boxes in the other parameters section, just put 0 for all of that. And for everything else below that, don't even touch them, just leave them alone. I use a heat gun to give all of the pieces a curve. This would be a lot easier if I could find my Planisher, which is actually just a makeshift one that I did, where I used a broken ball light that's magnetic and taped it to a bunch of stacked spray can like cap things. But it works, and it didn't cost me anything, so, but I can't find it, so oh well. It's usually used to help curve the foam over it, but since I can't find it, I have to do this by hand. As well as, you're going to want to be very careful to not burn yourself. Also, wearing a respirator is a good idea because the heat causes the foam to let off some fumes that you don't really want to breathe in. I can use contact cement along the edges to glue them together. When doing this, I always use 2 coats of glue, letting the first coat completely dry before adding the second coat, as that first layer just tends to soak in a little too much. Also, please wear a respirator when doing this, because contact cement fumes are very bad. When the glue is almost dry and a bit tacky, after about 5 to 10 minutes or so, I put the pieces together. Now, I have a problem where I'm very bad at lining these up, so if you can do a better job of that, then that'd be great. But my seams are just a little bad. Or a lot. They're a lot bad. But either way, remember that when the two pieces touch, you're committed, so just go slow and be very careful. And here's the full ball completely assembled. I also added a little sketch of like a little area where I can start removing foam to make it fit on my arm. And I actually changed this and cut a lot more out later, which you'll see, later. But what you're seeing here is still the same basic process. I hold it up to my arm and get a general idea of where to cut out, and then I draw that out, and then cut it out. You just keep doing this little by little until you have something that you like. If you want, you can cut the final design out to have the teeth as part of the cutouts, but I didn't do this. It makes it just a little bit harder to get the inside of the mouth to fit, but just try whatever you like. If you want to start with paper first, you can do that as well, and cut everything from that. And then if you do that and take the template back apart, you now have a template that has the cutouts already. And I might actually do that, try and make another one just to see how I like it. Alright, so I have to come on camera like this. I've been doing this a lot lately. I haven't had a choice because a lot of this stuff I can't film. This, my hand was covering it the entire time. You can't see what I'm doing. So I'll explain everything. So I have this shape here, that's the eye. And I already have one on the ball itself, but I'll explain that in a minute. And that was my tester, basically, so that if I messed up, I could just redo the entire thing and go from there. But I did mess up on this one a little bit. There's a little notch here, but it's fine. It'll be fine. And so what I did was I made the eye. I just hand drew the whole thing, didn't even go off a template or anything, and then I made where the brow is going to be, because these do have brows for some reason, and they're going to be sanded down. So I'm going to show you what I did there on the end, on the part that's going to connect to the eye section where the brow meets the eye. I already rounded that off with a sanding drum, one of these on the Dremel, this Dremel specifically. And my wireless one's charging, so and then I already put the glue on this. This is just contact cement, and I'm contact cementing the entire thing together. This isn't a very good match, but it'll be fine. I need it to round off, so that's good. So it's rounding off now. Doesn't match too well, but it's better than nothing. But here's the other one already, so it's decent. So I also opened the mouth a little more. Same exact thing, just a knife going through it. I just widened it, and this one actually fits on my arm. So that's what I wanted. So I wanted it on the arm. So yeah, and then I'm just gonna glue this in place. But before I do that, you can see on this one probably I sanded down everything around it. So on here I already sanded down the bottom of the eye, which is where this notch came from, but that won't be very noticeable, so you can't really see it, so that's good. And it's just the part where it's gonna be flushed down with the rest of it anyway, so it's gonna be near impossible to see when it's painted and everything. But what I need to do now is do that to the rest of it, which is just basically the top here, and I'm gonna show you how I'm doing that. So it's gonna get messy, but I'm gonna show you how I'm doing that. So I'm gonna take the Dremel and just carefully angle the entire thing. Alright, so that's done, and you can probably tell, you can still see where the two separations are, but that's only because there's obviously now foam dust in there and the Sharpie marks that didn't get deleted all the way from, but I can feel it, and there's not an actual seam there. So when that gets covered with plastic dip, that'll be completely covered up and invisible. So that actually worked out perfectly the way I wanted it to. So I'm gonna take this one out and put in this. This is a smoothed out grinding stone. This is one of those bullet shaped grinding stones that, there we go. I don't know how well you can see it, whatever. It's the bullet shaped grinding stone, the cone shape, whatever you want to call it. And this is super smooth from being worn down a lot, and I've used it a ton. This I've had for like, I don't know, 8 years now, maybe a little less than that. And since it's smooth, it doesn't sand much off at all, if anything. What it does is it cauterizes the foam and makes it less fuzzy. And it'll smooth out all these rough looking sanded areas. So I'm going to go through this all over the entire thing. Also, I am going to go in here very carefully. You can do that if you're just holding the one small piece, but it's much easier to do that when it's connected. You just got to be more careful. Alright, so there's the piece, and then I'm going to actually probably dust on the table from doing that. So now all I'm going to do is glue this on with super glue. Contact cement. I meant contact cement, not super glue. No idea why I said that. To cover the inside of the mouth, I spread contact cement all over a large area on some 2mm foam, as well as the edges of the mouth opening. I didn't measure or trace anything, I just guessed on the large area. I covered way more than I needed to, and I only used one coat for this because it didn't really matter. And then I carefully put the 2mm piece in place, using the template piece as a shield to stop the foam from touching down in areas where I didn't want it to do that yet, so I had better control. And then once that was on, I could use the X-Acto knife to cut the excess off. And I even put a new blade in to my X-Acto knife so that it was very clean and extremely sharp, because this means it's as sharp as possible being brand new, so that I didn't accidentally tear the foam. To make the teeth, I cut them out of 10mm foam. I had a scrapped piece of black, so I just used that instead of cutting up the large white sheets that I have, and I cut 12. I only need 6, as I'm only doing the upper teeth for this, because you won't even see the bottom in any pictures. But this way I had at least one extra for each tooth, just in case I messed up on the next step. And that next step is using the sanding drum on the Dremel to round off the foam to look more teeth-like, I guess. I also went over each one with that bullet-shaped bit that I mentioned earlier to help take the fuzziness from sanding away and to smooth them out a little bit. To glue the teeth on, I again just used contact cement, putting it on the flat edge of each tooth, and then putting some along where they need to go. And then I placed them, and I just kinda eyeballed it. You can measure this out if you really want to, but I didn't, and it seemed to work just fine. To hold it onto my arm, I'm using magnets. The ones that go in the mouth were a bit difficult, so what I ended up doing was I glued in 3 of them, making sure that they all faced the same way so the magnetic polarity was the same direction for all 3, and I did this with 5-minute epoxy. You can honestly do this however you want. Super glue probably would have worked just fine. As well as if you plan to have it on you all day, and you never plan to take pictures with it detached, you can use something like Velcro that's glued to the inside of the mouth where the other half is sewn to the glove if you really want. The way it attaches is completely up to you. I wanted to be able to remove it without having the method showing on the glove, meaning magnets was the only option. I also used a second piece of 2mm foam and did the exact same one with this one that I did with the one inside the mouth, except this time I covered the entirety of the one already in the mouth with contact cement so that both pieces would just be glued straight together, which traps the magnets in between them. And the reason why I did this is because the magnetic pull was just barely strong enough that when I put it on my arm without that layer over it, the magnets were trying to rip out of the foam. So I needed a layer in between them to stop that from happening. I also tried using EVA foam clay to give it a specific look around the eyes, but yeah, that didn't work. The eyes are not supposed to be raised like they are on mine. They're actually supposed to be inset with the balloon monster's skin, I guess, or whatever, around the eyes, similar to how eyelids work, where the eyes are behind skin, you know what I mean. If you want to, you can cut out the eye sockets and round them off and just put the foam back in or something, or you can figure out your own method of what you would like to do, and that would be just whatever you decide. But the foam clay straight up just peeled right back off, which is weird because I did everything exactly the same way everyone else does it, where you use water when you knead the clay in your hands and you make sure the surface has some water on it where you want it to stick. But it just didn't work at all. I don't know why. So if you can figure out something, go ahead. I ended up taking it all right back off and having to throw it away. With the build done, I took it outside and gave it a few coats of black Plastidip spray, and then brought it back in to do the rest with brush-on acrylic paint. I start with matte black, though you could honestly easily just use spray paint for this. I just didn't have any. But I used matte because that finish will allow other paints to stick a lot easier. Though now that I've done this, I honestly should have used white, because painting over black is annoying, because the colors don't show up very well on top of black. But oh well, too late now. Also, pro tip, you can use a hairdryer to help the paint dry faster. After that, I cover the entire thing in an orange called Jack-o'-lantern, which is just an orange that looks like the color of a pumpkin. This is also matte because I do it over the eyes as well, like everything, except for inside the mouth because obviously that's going to be black, but I do it over everything including the eyes because I'm going to go over them with white, and that'll go on a lot easier over the orange, saving time and headaches of a million coats of having to go over the black. Trust me, the orange was a pain in the butt and it took like 10 coats and it was really, really annoying. And the very last thing to do, which I actually forgot to do until I finished everything else, is to use black to line the eyes and to make those lines that make it look mad, and it actually looks this way in the anime. And here's the entire finished prop. Just go over it with some clear coat. I actually forgot to do that, but whatever. So the prop might be done, but I still have to make it attached to my arm. And I'm using something I already have, so you'll likely have to make something yourself or find something that works. But what I have is the armband from my Cloud cosplay from Final Fantasy VII. I'll just remake one for that later on. I took 3 magnets and made sure of which direction the polarity was so they would pull on the magnets that were in the mouth, and marked them so that I knew which side was which, and then holding the armband against the mouth I can mark where the magnets need to go, and then I just glued them in place with 5-minute epoxy. I put the armband over my arm but under the glove, and because of how tight the armband is, it won't move around, so it stays in place very well. And now all I have to do is put the little dude on my arm and he stays perfectly. And 3 magnets might actually be overkill, but it ensures this thing won't be falling off anytime soon. In fact, at the con that I first brought this guy to, it only fell off when Atlas bumped into it really hard. Light bumps don't even make it budge. Like, he swung his arm down and accidentally hit it because I was too close to him, and that's the only way it fell off. And the other time I ran into something and, like, you know, it pushed really hard against it. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I think it was a doorway or something. Alright, so that's how you make this little dude on here. So I did mention that I was going to talk about a few things that would probably be good to know. Something I messed up on, the magnets. So you probably heard that just now. That's because the glue's not dry. So the glue for that I'm using for the magnets in here isn't totally dry. It's just a little bit sticky. So this is sticking to my glove. That's gotta carefully peel the glove back off. That's my bad for not waiting, but whatever. When you get to this point and you want to put these on, make sure that the glue's totally dry. Anyway, this is the thing that I put all these on. I'm stupid. I wanted it to be the opposite of this. This is inside out. So this is my armband for Cloud. So, oh my god. And it's all sweaty because it's pleather. This is a 2-way stretch pleather, so it doesn't stretch this way, but it does stretch this way. That means I can get it on and off my hand. I originally had the magnet up here, and I was going to flip it inside out, which would make it would make this design flipped so that it was like this, so that you on the other side. Then I flipped it out and was like, oh, that's wrong. And so I had to move the magnet and then realized these are on backwards. So these are magnetized this way, they're not magnetized this way, they're opposing that way. So it is required to have them like this, which sucks. I didn't mean to do that. And I might actually also put a piece of cloth over this so that the glue definitely will never touch the gloves again. But that was my bad. I should have flipped them the other way. It was just, I kept thinking this side, and I don't know what happened with what I was thinking, but I messed that up. So I might make another one of these because, I mean, I have to for Cloud anyway, because now I've just ruined this one. But I might instead sew down a strip like, do I have any? I don't think I have any. Some like bias tape or something where it's folded over on itself so it creates its own pocket. So sew that down, put the magnets in it where it needs to go, and then sew the magnets into the thing, and then just have that stuff down. That would have been a lot better. I messed that up. So just be smarter than me and do it the correct way the first time. But I don't have time to remake this or the material before I'm going to use it, which is literally 2 days after I'm filming this. So yeah, it sucks, but there's nothing I can do about it. Also, like I said, let the glue dry all the way. It's only been about 2 hours since this glue is dried, and it's still very tacky, and that's why my gloves are sticking to it. But once it's been like 24 hours, it won't be like that anymore. So don't worry about that, but I'm still probably gonna put the cloth over it anyway, just to be on the safe side. Because holding these two magnets together with the glue on top and just the glove in between it can still be a bad idea for the glove. And there's still glue on the glove right there. That's not gonna come out ever. So there's nothing I can do about that now. Also, I probably should have did these two black lines a little more accurate to each other, but it's fine, I'll get over that too. If I really want to, I can paint over it and redo it. I'm not going to, I don't really care. But yeah, so just remember all of that when you're making it. But other than that, yeah, that's how you make little weird guys. Other than that, that should be it for the entire tutorial. So if you like it, go ahead and give it that thumbs up, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys later.